I get asked questions all the time. Uh, People send me an email, and since I get about 1,000 email every 4 or 5 days, it's almost impossible to take the time and answer the question. But after a while, when I get enough questions in the same area, I decided that my best way to handle this, so I give good responses, is to create a video. And then when people have this future question, I can refer them, go watch this video. And this was a series of questions dealing with evil entities and darkness. Um, and it was sent to me by a guy named Tim. And I don't want to read the beginning of his message because it's all pretty personal. But he talks about one time at my lowest level, I was confronted by an unexpected stranger, and my spirit instantly told me he's not human. And I was prepared to engage with him properly. And it was the most danger I've ever felt. I was totally isolated at a rural overlook in deep emotional pain, which was why I had gone there. My question is about such dark entities. What do you think they are? Why are they here? And can humans, if they're devoted enough to evil causes, turn into things like that as well? I cannot understand this aspect of the spiritual world and wish to. I'm totally unafraid to fight them if empowered to do so. Eager to, in fact. I once warded off another malevolent entity that was attacking my friend. However, I did it all through love for them and the desire that no harm come to them. I simply challenged it to focus on me instead, laid my hand on the small of their back, and this worked. I suppose, but I felt like I should consult with others in case another incident. You seem wise in these matters. I look forward to your reply. Okay, Tim. So basically, yes, there is such a thing as dark entities. Um, there's evil out there. Evil exists because mankind has created this through their own actions and thoughts and desires, dreams, attitudes, hatred, anger, unforgiveness, all these negative aspects of what people think and do and act on create this dark energy. And it does have life. And when you're doing drugs and alcohol, and especially if you're doing both, but if you're doing drugs and alcohol, or you're doing a Ouija board or some form of supernatural stuff which you don't know what you're doing, you're always taking on the possibility of being hijacked by these dark entities, by being influenced by them, by being taken over and controlled by them, or simply having a brush with them. So, like their shadow is cast upon your spiritual self and creating a dark part of you. So, yes, they do exist. We create them with our thoughts, and that's where it starts. Evil thoughts, good thoughts, they both build thought forms. You know, all good deeds start with a thought, all evil starts with a thought. So the mind is the birthplace, the birthing stones of all these entities. And for you to be confronted by somebody that you feel has been possessed or taken over, or the influences on them of the darkness, that is not totally uh, it's not totally wrong to think that or believe that, because I've seen it happen recently. I seen it happen where somebody was using alcohol and drugs together, and they did some crazy stuff that was totally not their personality and who they were. And when they were confronted, a day or so later, they said that a demon took them over. It was a devil. They didn't remember doing all this stuff. I've heard that many times, and I've seen examples of it. And a part of me believes that that is very possible, that a rational spiritual being that opens up other dimensions uh, allows their spirit, their essence of who they are, their goodness to be hijacked. And so it can be very dangerous. So, yes, it can happen. And if you're prone to doing things that take you down that road where you're susceptible to this dark influence, um, it's a danger. It's also a danger to take on fighting these things unless you fully armed with great spiritual vibration and energy and a higher frequency, because you may think you are, but darkness has a great power, and you can be damaged, you can be beaten. Just because you're a good person, you have good intentions, doesn't mean this is a battle you should be going into alone or untrained into. So my advice to you is, this is something you shouldn't be involved with unless you've had some personal training with some shaman or priest or uh, some other line of activity where you know how to handle these. But most people believe and think they're more powerful than they are. My advice: stay away from it. I have personally done several exorcisms. One I did with a woman that was her and her family were kind of possessed. They were fooling around with the Ouija boards, and through the process of using the Ouija boards, this entity from the Ouija board, something happened, and members of her family were acting weird, and crazy stuff was happening around the house, and there was a lot of stuff. So she went to a Catholic priest in Sacramento, and this guy was a priest for 20 some years, and he said he knew how to do the ceremony, and then he would do it the next week. He just had to prepare for it, you know, and get the sacraments and everything that was needed. And she came back in the next week and asked for him, and was told by the church officials that he quit. He quit priesthood. So after 20 years of being a priest and promising her he was going to be there to do this, he was gone. He was gone. He quit being a priest. So they gave her a second priest who took it over. And he said he'd be taking it over in another couple of weeks, and he was looking into it, and he was preparing for it. And she went back to see him, and he had a heart attack and died. So she was kind of scared that what she was taking on maybe was more powerful. So they came to me and said she was Catholic. I wanted to do a Catholic process because that would help her beliefs and give her strength, and she'd find energy in that. So I went to my friend, a Catholic priest in San Jose Diocese, and he gave me a big container of holy water, and he printed out some of the rituals and things from the actual Catholic, scriptures and doctrines and things that they use. So, and I was traveling back with that and had an incident, and things went crazy. And long story short, the priest that helped put this together for me, prepared for me, the next day he had a nervous mental breakdown. It was he was committed to a mental hospital by his bishop, and so he spent 3 weeks in a mental hospital being drugged up and everything because he just totally lost it. So the first three priests that handled this, one quit priesthood, one had a heart attack and died, and the third one had a psychological emotional breakdown, and it cost him his career and everything else. And so it was up to me. I did it. I performed it. I saw things. I felt things. It was a battle. But eventually it worked. I'm telling you this story, but it's in more detail if you want to look at the video on it. But I'm telling you this because these guys were experts. They'd studied. They'd been to college. They've been priests for a minimum of, the guy that had to break that was priest for like 15 years. The rest of them all had 20, 25, 30 years. And yet, as powerful as they were in their belief and all that, one dies, one quits, one goes crazy. So yes, there's caution that needs to be happening. Yes. I was at a church in Sacramento, a meditation center, and it was on Friday night, and it was raining outside, and we had an all Friday night meditation and went several hours late into the night, and a homeless guy come in, a big, tall homeless guy, about 6'6", 7". I mean, big guy, got a couple hundred some pounds, muscled. He came in. He was obviously a homeless guy, and I was watching. I was the usher, and I was watching the back of the room, and looked like he was going to. He was starting to go through the briefcase of the minister that we had visiting there, and I saw his hands going in and out of it. So I asked to see the guy out in the vestibule. Took him outside, and when I got him outside, he looked at me, and his eyes just went crazy. He went crazy. He looked like the devil. I mean, it was just bad. And he picks me up with one hand by the neck and holds me up. And he's walking with a cane. And he's got this metal cane, and he's getting ready to whack me on top of the head. I'm just there, and I'm just praying to God. And then he looks at me and he screams, and like who's this? Who's this giant behind you? And boom, he leaves. He runs down the street. He was screaming down the street saying that I had this giant behind me that was trying to hurt him. So, did my prayers bring an angel to protect me? Was this guy possessed of the devil of some kind with that massive strength and craziness, and then he just left? Um, I got a video on that as well if you want to watch that. These are just two cautionary tales. But when you're dealing with evil, evil is real. Evil, darkness exists. Darkness exists, light exists. Light is more powerful. Love is more powerful than hate and anger, but it's all there. Don't challenge it on your own. So I hope that answers your question about dark entities. Best advice is avoid it. Preventative, don't get involved with it. Start getting involved in all these mystical, supernatural stuff that you don't know what you're doing. You could create situations for yourself that are not spiritually and physically healthy. So I hope that answers your question, Tim.